Hi from Dubai. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. Thank you very much for taking along at this presentation slash webinar for you. Now, in this webinar, we're going to cover most of the topics about the current real estate market in Dubai, about your investment opportunities, as well as how Dubai actually developed, where we got, how we got here, and where we're going to move forward into the future. Now, with no further ado, let me go and minimize myself over here in this corner. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a quick glance at the entire presentation, so you know what to expect at which stage, so you can skip forward. You will also find a guide below. And with no further ado, let's just go right ahead. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about current projects in the market, as well as what is currently happening in the market. Now, in order to understand what is happening in the market, we obviously need to go and take a step back for a second. Now, what we're going to do in that... Oh, wow, there's a firework. We're going to... Well, we're going to keep that firework in. we have to take a step back and have a look at the current geopolitical and world map to understand what is happening economically and what is happening in the world itself. So we're not going to only compare the Dubai market, the UAE market, but also have a glance at the current trends in the world itself. My background is in economy. I studied economics in Germany and in Australia, and I wrote my thesis in that field. So I'm going to implement most of the parts from my thesis into that presentation as well. And the next step that we're going to do is we're going to talk about the bubble. Because everyone is saying those days we have a bubble situation here in Dubai, and I can assure you that that is not the case. But before I just say that this is not the case, we should back it up, right? We need to have the right sources, and we need to first of all understand what is a bubble. So we do have a little bit of a look over here from this excerpt from Stanford. We're going to move into the current situation here at the Dubai market, which is very, very interesting to have a look at, because there are some economical principles that apply from the 1970s until those days, which we're going to talk about in the principal agency theory or the principal agent problem as well, just to understand the market, to understand what is actually happening in Dubai. I'm going to illustrate this for you as well in this part of the presentation. We're going to talk about that part. Then we're going to zoom in, and I actually need your feedback and your help at this stage, because this is a webinar series that we're going to work out. So I'm kindly ask you to give me feedbacks in the comments below, or also reach out to me via YouTube or Instagram in order for me to find the right topics for you that are interesting for you. So whenever you have something coming up throughout the presentation or more things that you would like to know, please don't hesitate. Get in touch with me and we will be taking it from there. Then we're going to have a look at the UAE, then the Masterplan 2040, excuse me. And we're going to talk about the journey and what is going to be ahead, right? What are we looking forward to? What does the Masterplan 2040 mean? The current developments, where we're going to have a look at, and what is the outlook for the future. Now, this map is absolutely fantastic. We're going to go into detail about the master plan. Don't worry, I'm going to simplify each and every single step, even if this is not your background, just for you and to understand your property investments and the opportunities out here. We're going to have a glance into this map, and we want to talk about the legend on the left-hand side as well. So that is absolutely something that we look forward to do. Then I have an excerpt from the Goldman Sachs property investment itself. We're going to talk about those 5 steps, and we're going to round it up with the attractive risk adjustment returns, how we calculate them, what it actually means. And once that is done, we're going to move forward to the next step, which is then an opportunity for you again to get in touch with me here via Instagram and tell me what was interesting to you, what was not interesting to you, what would you like to know more about Dubai and the real estate market and the current opportunities of moving to Dubai with family and friends or by yourself. And I'm more than happy to help regarding that. Now, later on, we're going to have a quick glance at the pricing market for the residential and the commercial units, as well as rentals and sales, and how they behave in accordance to each other. And the last part of this is going to be the residential sales price index, as well as the residential sales for rentals, as well as for the units that have been sold. So we're going to have a look at rentals, we're going to have a look at sales, we're going to do our background check, and this is an excerpt from the Dubai Land Department. Then we're going to talk about the economical part and the geopolitical strategy within the outline of 2040. Once that is done, we're going to talk about the outlook. We're going to back it up with excerpts from Deloitte's most recent documents that have been sent out to us that you can also have an access to. We're going to give you a real life example of what happened in real life here in Dubai within the property market of one of the properties that we were focusing on, or an area that we were focusing on. And we're going to go through, discuss that part, and this is going to be the entire presentation. As you could tell, you already see my WhatsApp number on the bottom, and if you want to reach out to me, you can also find my contact details on my website, valentine.realestate. No com, not AE, nothing, just valentine.realestate, and you will get valentine.realestate. So with no further ado, this was the entire layout for the presentation. Let's have a glance at the first layout. So I'm actually very, very excited to talk about the entire strategy about the UAE and how we're going to move forward with the next steps. Now, in order to move forward, as I said, we need to take a step back first and look at the market, what is happening in the world. So as you could tell on the right top, you do have 24 over 193, which is basically 24 out of 193 countries that are like registered by the UN, as a country. Those 24 places in the world are the world economic drivers, like those zones. This is where most of the talents are moving into. Now, why is this important for us? Just have a look at the history of the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and then ask yourself, 50 years ago, 50 plus years ago, it was not even, it was founded 50 plus years ago. 30 years ago, it was not even on the radar for each and any of the people out there. Now, we are one of the top 24 cities and countries to live in out of 193. What does it mean for your property investment, and what does it mean in general for the opportunities here in Dubai? Now, let's have a glance. Before we talk about the real estate bubble assumption, we're going to have a glance on what is happening in the world. So first of all, we do have the area around Silicon Valley. So you do have, obviously, Facebook, Tesla, Microsoft, eBay, each and every company that is laid out here on the coast of the US, which is obviously a driver. So supply and demand is always one of the things that we want to consider when it comes to investment in real estate properties. So that is one of the areas where a lot of talents are moving into, because you do have a corporate structure, you do have companies there that provide people with jobs, highly paid talents that are moving there. The same goes to the area of New York, as well over to Europe, where we do have London, Ghent, and Paris as well in that region. And as you could tell already, Dubai is very, very strategically placed between Asia and Europe. Like the placement of Dubai, it's right in the middle, which obviously not only from an airport and logistics perspective is absolutely excellent. It also gives many, many people the opportunity to create what we call a melting pot. So we do have a diversity of cultures here in Dubai. Over 90% of the people that are living in the UAE are not from the UAE. So they migrated to the United Arab Emirates. Just to keep that in mind. And so you do have those cities in the world. Now, the current trend, as by the latest statistics that we had a look at, is that most of the people either from central US move towards New York or San Francisco. So they divide it in two parts. Now, we do have a talent stream of a lot of talents moving from Europe to Dubai. And one interesting figure at this point that we have a look about is that around 4,200 people from London are moving each year, like the number 4,200, just as a reference number, 4,200 moving to Dubai, and then from those 4,200 people that have been asked in that questionnaire, 1,800 moved back, so more than 50% of them are actually staying in Dubai. Now, obviously, there is a reason for that, and one of the reasons, obviously, is tax-free. It's 24/7 sunshine. The security level is through the roof. It's absolutely fantastic to live here. And I have traveled 16 countries, and I would say from the cleanness, it comes very close to Tokyo and Switzerland, but it has the security and the international opportunity, you know, while being a tax haven, if you want to call it like that. So you do have all of these people coming in, not only from Europe, but also from Southeast Asia, including Singapore. Then we do have Hong Kong, Shanghai, Beijing, and Tokyo. So these places also further moving into Dubai. So it becomes a melting pot at this stage, right? Now, it's interesting to see later on when we move forward to the next phase of the map, when we zoom into the United Arab Emirates and we talk about it, there's actually not much space left. Right? That's very, very important to consider, but we're going to have a look at it later on. Let's have a look at the next slide and talk about the bubble. Now, the interesting part about the bubble is that everyone is saying, oh, the Dubai real estate market is a bubble. Well, there is a definition of a bubble, which we're going to talk about later on. But as you can see at this index, I'm going to move myself right over to the right-hand side, is you do have an UBS index for the bubble risk. And you do have this legend down here on the bottom. What's interesting to see is if you have a look at it, Dubai right over here has 0.14 and is fair valued. Now, same as with San Francisco, same as with New York. This is why we have mentioned these areas before. In order to understand where my property investment, how my property investment is going to flourish in the future, or if it's going to increase or decrease, I need to have a look at the movement globally. And Dubai is currently attracting more people than anyone else. And this is why in Dubai we have 0.14, so it's even lower bubble risk than in San Francisco or in New York and Boston, right? So interesting enough, we're going to have an excerpt from the Harvard University later on that we're going to discuss. However, if you look at the market, you see London, you see Frankfurt, you see Munich, 1.35, 1.27, which are already overvalued by the UBS. So we're going to take along the statistics that we have and make our point here from a very, very neutral perspective. This is not to pitch you Dubai. It's just to have a very neutral look at it. And in order to do so, we need to have the same foundation and understanding of the current market. Now, in order to have the same understanding, we obviously need to go there and have a look at the definition of a bubble. So what is a real estate bubble? I took for you the liberty to find some resources. Now, one of them is from the Stanford University. This on the right-hand side is the entire excerpt from an entire article and from their parts of their definitions. And on the left-hand side, you do have those parts. So the upper part is an excerpt from the right-hand side and the lower part as well. So you will find those two parts on the right-hand side. So let's have a look at it. I'm just going to read through it very, very quickly and then explain you what is actually happening from a very, very neutral and economic perspective by using the definition that is given by Stanford. Right? So investors enter the market and bid up prices. Phase number one. This irrational exuberance heightens expectation of further price increases as investors extrapolate recent price action far into the future. The market's meteoric rise is typically justified in the popular culture by some superficially plausible new era theory that validates the abandonment of traditional valuation metrics. Now, what we have here, and this is where I'm getting back to my point, is we need to look at Dubai a little bit differently than we have looked into other cities. And the reason being is because Dubai is a rollout plan. Now, look at any other given city in the world. Let's just take Frankfurt or Berlin as an example. Well, Berlin maybe not the best one due to the situation back then. So let's have a look at Munich and at Frankfurt. You have a natural growth of a city. It starts from the city center and then it expands further into the other outer parts, right? And then you have smaller villages and smaller cities surrounding it, and then sort of it's sort of growing from inside out. That's the natural metric that we follow along when it comes to real estate evaluation. However, if you look at it from that perspective, you cannot apply this to Dubai because Dubai is not growing from one point, it's built. You do have on the right-hand side the downtown Dubai, on the left-hand side, the Palm. So it's built on different parts. It's not growing from the inside out. Geographically speaking, if you take the Burj Khalifa and if you take Palm or Marian area, the geographical center would be Dubai Hills, if you would just point it there. So whenever you want to invest into the city center of Dubai, I always ask the people, well, what do you define as the city center? That's very important to have a look at, right? For some people, the city center is the Burj Khalifa because it's the tallest building with 828 meters. For other people, it is the marina area because that's where they spend the most time with. Everyone knows about the Palm, so maybe it's Palm for you. And so we really have to be a little bit more specific when it comes to real estate investment in central of Dubai because there is no central Dubai per se. Now let's have a look at the later part. So we do have the heightened expectation by more and more people coming in. Let me tell you something. In Germany, I used to be an agent, a real estate agent in Germany. I could tell you right away, whatever had 4 or 5% return on investment was absolutely fantastic from a European perspective. Now here in Dubai, we're talking about 8-12%, which is the absolute standard that we have here. Again, supply and demand is something that we have to look into. There are new launches out in the market. However, we do have economic boosts looking back at the history of Dubai. So at this stage, we need to understand that although we do have people that bid up the prices, we do have economical factors that are rules that are implemented by the government, such as Expo, such as COVID regulations, such as the visa policy that has been increasingly improving for all of the investors. So we moved from 10 million to 5 million to 2 million when it comes to the golden visa. The golden visa is now 2 million. And from those 2 million, you only need to invest 20%. At 20% down payment, you can already apply for it. So the regulations are getting better and better. There are more and more attractions into the market. Again, Expo. And in total, if you look at it from a geopolitical perspective, you could already tell that each and every country, each and every era in time has an expansion until a certain level. Let's look at the British Empire in the past. Let's look at even the Roman Empire. Whatever empire you want to take, there is a certain extent until you can grow as an economy, and then it shortly adjusts. Unless the government takes action, which we see very well in the US and which we see very well over here. So the government is putting incentives in place to overcome this bubble, as well as the entire rollout of the developer is already planned. So they know what they're doing. They have been 20 plus years in the market. Each and every developer knows what they're doing. I'm talking about the one that we're dealing with. Not every, but the ones that we're dealing with they definitely know what they're doing, right, in this market. Now, the later part is one example of a bubble risk is maybe the attraction of an excessive number of people to some profession after there has been a significant breakthrough. We talked about the return on investment, which is exorbitantly high, between 8 and 12%. So that is a significant breakthrough in the area. We do have the world's tallest building. We have the world's largest cantilever. We have the world's highest jogging track. We have the man-made island, the world's largest one. So every single record-breaking thing is a breakthrough. Now, the next part, the mechanism of the bubble in this case can be modeled very similar to the price formation. Explosive growth attracts newcomers who project growth into the future. Once the readily available new applicants have been worked through, however, the profession may suffer from overcapacity of labor. Other relevant example can be the number of people following certain fashion or popularity of a rock group. Now, it's interesting to understand that this trend has already happened and it is going to continue. We're talking about real estate. We have plenty of investors that are coming into the market. They project the future for their property investment, which ironically is also giving them the chance to market their properties out there. So whenever someone is investing and they flip the property throughout the off-plan stage, or whenever they have the high return on investment, they're going to tell their friends. Plus, we do have the marketing machinery behind all of this, which is Dubai itself. Right? Dubai is very good at marketing itself. Just look at the achievements that have been done here in the market in general. So it's something to consider when it comes to real estate investment. It's like what economical power is driven by the government, and this government is actually doing a very, very fantastic job when it comes to that. Now, once the readily available new applications have been worked through, however, the profession may suffer from overcapacity of labor. Other relevant example, the number of people following certain fashion group, or popularity of a rock group. So what happens is now we have a lot of people entering into the market, and they do invest in property. At this stage, we have to understand that in order to invest in property, usually you have all the other people that come along with it. So the developers are hiring more staff. We do have more and more real estate agents that are coming into the market. And that causes one of the things that we're going to discuss in the next slide, which is going to be the principal agent theory. Now, what's interesting to see is if you take just the regular description of a real estate bubble, then yes, people might say Dubai is potentially a bubble. There is a bubble, it's going to burst. However, we have all of these people coming into Dubai, moving into the market. We do have the artificial beaches that we have inside the deserts that we build in the middle, right? You don't need to have the water from properties those days. You have artificial lagoons with entire communities built around them. We have shopping centers. So you basically stay in your community. You don't necessarily need to go to Marina and Palm each and every day to have water from property, because we created the lagoons in District 1. We have a Maidan coming up with the area that is going to be developed furthermore. We have Tila Al Ghaf with the lagoons. There are Damak Lagoons is coming up with the same concept, just a little bit different from the design and style. So this is interesting to have a look at, right? There are certain incentives that we did not have in the traditional metrics. This entire rollout of Dubai, this entire master plan, which we're going to talk about later, is something that is not applicable to the current metrics that we have to evaluate the market. It's new. It's just brand new. Dubai 30 years ago, no one was really talking about it. And those days, we can consider ourselves lucky to be actually part of this. So what is the principal agent theory? The principal agent theory, and this is what I want to lay it out here at the top, the principal agent theory, which emerged in the 1970s. Now, this presentation is for you. This webinar is for you. And the reason being that I pointed this out is it's not to say something negative about other agents, or it's not to establish credibility by lowering the value or status of other people. This is not my primary goal. This is not my goal at all. It's just to see it from an economical perspective, to understand, hey, look, this principal agent theory, which we're going to talk about now, this principal agent problem is something that has been happening since the 1970s. It's not new. It's a general pattern that people follow, and that economists, as we could tell, economists in theory describe pitfalls that often arise when one person or group, the agent, is representing another person or group known as the principal. So what happens is you do have, what happened is you do have different incentives, which at the end of the day can be a problem, right? So the incentives for the agent are different than the one from the investor. But let's first have a look at this excerpt from the Harvard Review. So we do have the upper part, which is the advantages. Why should I work with an agent in the first place, right? Why should I even consider doing that? And then the second part is, what are actually the problems? Now, the reason why we are, and I cannot stress this enough, the reason why we're pointing this out is to understand what is happening in the market from a very rational and economical perspective. So let's talk about the first part, which is why work with an agent, right? The very first part, as you could tell right over here, is when you're unsure of the issues, under discussion of the rules of the game. Now, the rules of the game, you don't know the rules of the game, so you seek out an experienced agent. Now, this is something that you do in your daily life anyways. If I'm sick, I'm going to the doctor. If I have a law case, I go to the lawyer, right? If I do have any other related problem, I seek advice from an expert in an area. Now, you can Google as much as you want to. At the end of the day, people who are working in this market, they do have background knowledge that you might not have, which we're going to talk about later on in this. But one of the reasons why you want to seek advice, at least have advice, is and what is actually happening in the market. And I hope this presentation helps you with that step as well. So you don't know the rules of the games. Let's have a look at it. And in order to do so, we need to talk about this theory as well. Now, the second point is when you don't have time to meet the potential partners, in distant location or participate in a step of process, you're unlucky to represent yourself as well. And the third part, you have poor relationship with your negotiating partner. So there are two things that are coming together at this point, and I want to sort of bring them together. One is the distance, and the other one is the negotiation power. Now, you might be in the UK, you might be in the US, you might be in Singapore, in India, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this webinar from, you need a representative that knows the market, that is here to represent your interests and needs. It's not only when purchasing the property. What are you going to do once you purchase the property? How are you going to rent it out? Right? You need to consider that. It's a long-term game that we create, like that we play here. And the way we did it is we have everything, like it's a one-stop shop that we have created here in Dubai. So whatever is related to company setup, whatever is related to moving to Dubai, when it's related to furnishing the apartment, selling the apartment, renting an out short or long-term rental, flipping off-plan properties, getting an NOC to change the current property, talking to the lawyers, setting up property structures or also company structures when it comes to holding companies. Whatever your heart desires, we have it. It's a one-stop shop, and over 60% of our current business are customer and clients, previous clients that are still continuing working with us. It's a long-term game because you never know what happens within the next years. No one predicted COVID, for example. And people were very happy with us throughout that performance because they knew I have a relatable partner. If there's something that I need, I have the direct contact of Valentine. I'm just going to reach out to him, and then he at least have someone in his team to sort out the problem, right? So that's something to consider. So you have the distance to location, but also you do need to have the negotiating partner, right? The power. Now, there are two different scenarios that we're going to talk about. The first one is you do need to negotiate with the developer, right? So in that scenario, I'm just going to give you two other scenarios. So you go by yourself to the developer, say, dear Mr. Developer, I would like to have this unit in the upcoming launch. The developer is first of all asking, who are you? Right? Or you work with us and we have 10, 15, 17, 18 people coming along with us in the pre-launch phase, and we negotiate with the developer and say, look, you have this project over there. We know this side is facing the lagoon. That side is facing the ocean. We would like to have a good unit mix of this and those units. The negotiation power at this stage is obviously very different than as an individual partner. Right? If you line up, the investors come as a group, you have more standing. And we know the market. And once you have built a relationship throughout the years, which we have done, and created that access, which we have done as well, you then can move forward. So whatever we do for large investors that are buying entire floors, we do it for the single investor as well. It's the same strategy. Nothing changed, right? Because the top investors, they run their numbers. We run our numbers as well, and we look at this from an economical perspective as well, and we look at the investments very, very differently than most of the people here in the market, given also my background in economics. Now, the third part is also another part that you want to consider when it comes to reselling the property. Now, reselling the property can be challenging. You need to understand the current market. You need to understand the difference between asking prices and selling prices. There is some transparency that Dubai established by when you download the DXB Interact app, for example, or you can have a look at recent purchases. You will get an understanding of that the asking price is not necessarily the selling price, right? I mean, that's very common in every market. So that's something you want to consider. Then on the other hand, you also want to know who you can trust in the market to actually represent your values, right? If you want to resell your property, not only that you might be further away, but you also need someone to represent you here in Dubai. So that's something to consider. Just think about the long-term gains that you will get with a strong partner on your side. And let's move from that part further to the last 3 points of the slides, which is the drawbacks. Excuse me. Despite these drawbacks, principal agent theory also point out there are 3 ways in which agents may differ from the principals. This is absolutely crucial to understand, and I cannot stress this enough. Let's talk about the first one. The agents may have different preferences from the principals, such as willingness to work. I'm going to illustrate that part. Let's leave it to the next slide. I'm just to understand at this stage, it's very important to understand that you need to be aware that your interest is not necessarily the interest by the real estate agent or by the doctor or by the lawyer. Right? It's a very common theory within the business world that works for all of the other areas as well. We just leave it like leave this part like that, and we're going to focus on the second part of this. Agent may have different incentives from the principal because they may have different stake in the outcome and may receive different rewards than the principal. And the third part is agent may have information that is unavailable to the principal or vice versa. These types of divergencies may give rise to problems relating monitoring, incentivization, coordination, and the strategy. You can Google as much as you want. I can tell you, and I can give you one example that might shock you a little bit, but it is the absolute truth. Now, what happened in the market is, for example, you do have, I'm not going to point it out, right? We have a few developers that work like that. You have an absolutely fantastic developer. Delivery on time, brilliant quality, return on investments once the building was completed, in short-term and long-term rental, went through the roof. Building management was fantastic. Everyone was happy. The agents were happy. The investors were happy. Everything worked out very well. Until a point where we realized, hey, how come that the top management of that company is getting fired? The people who worked for that company from the day one until that stage, a few years later, were in that company, and at one point, the top management was fired. You will not read about this. They're not going to make a public announcement that they're going to change the corporate strategy. Now, the corporate strategy and the corporate philosophy changed. You could say, well, that's maybe just, a page on the website where they say, this is our corporate philosophy. No, it's not. It's very, very important to understand that once the corporate strategy and corporate philosophy changes, the entire outline, the entire aftermath is going to be different for your property investment. And what I mean by that is, until that stage, you looked up to the developer. All of the projects were delivered on time. All of the projects have high return on investment. Everything was perfect. You think, all right, perfect. This is good. Everyone told me this is a great investment. This is where we're going to invest. And at a later stage, you realized, ooh, I'm kind of behind. We're kind of behind a little bit. And actually, the developer, the quality decreased a little bit. The reason being is that during the Ukraine and Russia crisis that we had here, that was obviously global, we had a lot of people coming in. And now, as a developer, you could say, okay, do I stick to my corporate strategy where I have 2, 3, 4, 5 launches per year? Or do I change my entire corporate strategy just to adapt to the market to make the most out of it? You see where this is going. Even if you do the background checks, which you should do, have a look at it, right? Have a look at the market, consult a partner. Until that stage, you will not be able to realize what is actually going to happen within that shift. So we moved entirely away from that developer because we said, no, this is not aligned with our corporate philosophy, with our corporate strategy to build long-term relationships. So we moved entirely away from that developer at that stage. And this is why it's crucial to understand that the information that is out there might be also misleading. You have the fancy brochures, everything is perfect, and you might also receive offers, like special offers that are not special offers at all. And one of the parts is also misleading, which you should know is each and every developer pays a different commission for the real estate agent. So maybe the real estate agents, which we're going to talk about now, might have a different incentive. So this is you on the left-hand side, right? This is you on the left-hand side. You have your interests. This is your agenda. I want to invest X amount right now. Now, on the right-hand side, you do have, let's move this quickly over here. You do have the real estate agent. You do have the real estate agent, which is over here. Now, the real estate agent has a contract with the company. The company tells him, you need to hit your sales targets. On the other side, he needs to pay his bills. Now, this is where the interest might differ from your interest. Because he has to pay his bills, he has to hit his sales targets. So now he can decide, or she can decide, whether I'm going to sell a property that gives me 7% commission to satisfy my needs and whatever I'm representing, or I'm going to move forward with a project. Let's just say the Royal Atlantis, they only paid 2%, which was one of the best investments back then, which was the reason why we focused on it, is usually the lower the commission for the agent, the better the projects, because they know it's going to be sold out. They know there is a high demand. Like, it's just an indicator, not saying that this is the case for each and every developer on each and every project, but it's a good indicator to get some fundamental understanding. Now, how to solve this problem? Let's have a look at it in the next slide, which is, so this is from the financial world. Obviously, we did financial consulting back then in Melbourne as well. So you do have profit sharing, stock options, incentives, and termination. So you can tell them, okay, look, this is a long-term game that we want to play. We want to establish a portfolio. Let's work with you, right? This is what we are focusing on, right? Even if it's a single investment or several investments, we will take care of you from A to Z. That's the whole point of it. You always have one partner on your side. And the main difference is I do have my own companies here in Dubai, one for corporate structure and setup, and the other one is real estate related. So we can cover everything. And that is the whole point of it, right? I don't have pressure. And a lot of times we actually say, oh, look, maybe you should consider someone else because this strategy is not what we're looking forward to, right? So we do have our philosophy, and I stand by my name by those two companies that I'm running here in Dubai. It's very important to understand that this is the long-term game, and I have built this throughout the time, and the network that I have is worth for me than more than just one simple deal. Like, there is no point of doing that, right? So let's focus on the next part of this presentation, which is that you can have a look at my website over here. This is my direct WhatsApp number, by the way. You can reach out to me directly at this stage. We're gonna have this presentation up on YouTube. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put it up on YouTube, all of this content, or if it's gonna be a webinar that you can download. However, at this stage, I really, really want to thank you that you stick along until now. We're gonna continue with the presentation. Don't get me wrong, we just the second part is gonna follow now. What you want to do is send me a message just with an outline. Even if you already consider buying a property and you want to have a second opinion, reach out to us. We're going to help you doing that. Right? That's our promise to you. At least you'll get some transparency. Let's start with that. And then the other part is, if you like this video so far, give it a thumbs up, give it some likes, give it some comments, and please reach out to me and tell me what would you like to know more about. Is it financing, about properties? Because this is a series that's going to grow through the input of you, right? This is the entire idea behind it. So now let's have a quick look at Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. So you do have, as you could tell already here, Abu Dhabi, then Dubai, Ajman, Sharjah, Al Quwain, Ras Al Khaimah. So Ras Al Khaimah is the tip of the tent. Each and every emirate has a meaning. You can Google them if you want. Very, very interesting to see what is the meaning for all of them. Now, I want to have for you, just for now to understand, yes, we do see the picture that Abu Dhabi is the loudest one. However, you have this entire oceanfront area of Dubai. So this is the Emirate of Dubai, right? Just try this here. This is Dubai. Have a look at the waterfront. This is the waterfront. And as you could tell by the waterfront area itself, this over here is the Palm area. World Island, Dera, all of that part. We almost reached that part where we reached the waterfront ending, with Palm Jebel Ali on the left-hand side, which is going to be over here, and the Dera area and Old Dubai on the right-hand side. So when people say that there's a bubble, there is more and more coming in. Yes, there is more and more coming in, but the demand is always higher right now, right? So just have a look at that, and we're going to zoom in later on, and I will explain you in detail why it is important and where to invest at this current stage. Okay. In order to understand that, we need to talk about the Masterplan 2040. Now, the Masterplan 2040 indicates that we need to double, or we will be double, the population of Dubai between that is currently between 3.2 and 3.6 million, up to 7.8 million. Now, in order to do so, obviously, you need to put everything in place. In order to put that in place, we not only have the goal to double the population, but we need to set up the logistics, the infrastructure, incentives, again, given by the government, which we talked about before when it comes to the visa and entry points. And also, we want to be number one in the world. Now, as you could tell, this is an excerpt from US News, from the ranking. United Arab Emirates, as you could tell, the United Arab Emirates, and it is best countries overall, number 19, and economically stable, number 2, after Switzerland. Just keep in mind that 30 years ago, no one was really paying attention to this area whatsoever. 20 years ago, it started. Then the Burj Khalifa came up, 2008, 2006, that area became very, very interesting for investors. We had a boom, that which we're going to talk about later on as well. And we are already number 2. Now, people say, well, maybe Dubai is not going to be number 1. We are already number 2, and we are already number 1 in certain rankings. We're also number 6 in other rankings. However, for a country and city that has not been on the radar whatsoever, this is quite impressive if you think about it, right? So in order to become the number 1, and in order to understand how we're going to do it, we need to talk about the Masterplan 2040. By the year 2040, this is all going to happen. And what's going to happen is we're going to talk about the 5 areas in total, the 5 urban centers. And I'm going to point out each and every one of them for you to understand where this journey is actually going. Now, the first one that we're going to talk about is the area over here, which is the city's historical essence. Now, Dera Bur Dubai is on the right-hand side. So that area is number 1. Why is it important? Now, this is the culture of Dubai. This is where everything started, right? So we're going to upgrade that area. We're going to establish some master communities that are very close by to area number 1, which is, again, the historical essence, the historical core of the city. Now, upgrading that area and sticking to our history, obviously, will marginalize the entire area. And then not only we have the history, but we also have the future, and the future is going to be built within the global financial hub, which is area number 2. Now, area number 2, most of you will know by the Burj Khalifa itself. So the Burj Khalifa, downtown business bay area. You do have Creek Harbor coming up over here, and then you do have District 1, Meydan, Shoba Heartland, and so on and so forth. So that entire area is the one that you might have been heard of more within the recent times. However, as you could tell, there is an entire layout for the city. It's not growing from the city center outside, it's going in different 5 areas. And the focus on this area number 2 is going to be global financial hub. Now, why is it important? Many people think that this city is only driven by oil. Dubai barely has any oil reserves, just to be very straightforward. What we're looking at in this market is 3 pillars of economy. From an economic perspective, from that part that I can tell you right away is number 1 is finance, number 2 is tourism, and number 3 is real estate, which is this entire presentation about, right? But in order to understand that these 3 pillars are the carrying pillars of the entire Dubai economy, we need to establish an area and grow it. And that is gonna be number 2 over here. Now, number 3 is gonna be the Dubai JBR Marina area, which is here. So you're already very familiar with the Palm Jumeirah, Palm Jebel Ali, which is 2 or 2.5 times the size of the Palm Jumeirah. By the way, I apologize for this circling, but I hope you get the location is more important than my art piece that I'm trying to do here. So you do have Blue Waters Marina area over here, Internet City, and then you do have the dedicated areas, which is a little bit more towards industrial, which is Al Quoz, Jumeirah, whatever is in that region over here, Burj Al Arab. And then you have certain areas that are very well known, such as the area of Dubai Hills, JVC, Arjan, which is right over here. Right, those areas, especially the communities around Arabian Ranches, are the areas where people moving in now. We do have a lot of villa communities. We do have a lot of townhouses that are going to be built. The primary focus is currently towards aligned with the demand. So the highest demand right now, and this is a tip, by the way, if you want to invest in real estate in Dubai, waterfront properties, townhouses, and villas are the ones that are always in demand at this stage right now. It might change in the future. But as of now, as we can see from the sales number, from the increases and the slides we're going to talk about in 3 slides from now, this is something to consider. Waterfront properties, villas, townhouses, communities, because we have more and more families moving over here. Now, there is an economic change in the entire diversity of the population of Dubai. More than 73% of people are in the ages, are between 20 and 40 years old in Dubai. Now, most of them are singles. They're all moving to Dubai. So when it comes to property investment, you might consider that a studio and one-bed apartment might be a good choice. However, we see that there is a different change. So you need to have a look at the layout. You need to have a look what is closer to to that particular client. Let's just say I want to invest in a property that is a villa, and I want to rent it out later on. Or I want to live there by myself first and I want to rent it out later on. I need to understand the economics around it, right? What is around it? How far is the school? How far is the mall? How far is the park? How far is entertainment? What are the ages of the kids that are living in that area? You need to consider that. So if you want to know more about the area that you are having a look at, and if you want to know more about the areas itself, reach out to us. So number 3, again, tourism. So we do have the historical part, number 1. Number 2, one of the carrying pillars is the financial part. Number 3 is the tourism, right? Tourism and entertainment, and also the residential communities and areas where people live in. Number 4 is the Expo 2020, which is the exhibition area, and also the Al Maktoum airport in that area over here. Now that area is right below Jebel Ali, Palm Jebel Ali, where we have the most recent launches, 28 million upwards, as well as for the villas, as well as the plot sizes. The plots are around 90 to 120 million at the current stage. Dirham, not dollars. Interesting to know what is so exciting about this area. You do have the airport Al Maktoum. Now, the current DXB airport has between 62 to 90 million passengers each year. The airport Al Maktoum will have 230 million. It's going to be built up in 2 different stages. And now you could already tell, it's not only the point that I have to understand that the city is not growing from inside out like we used to know the cities in the world. This is all planned. So I need to have a look at my investment. If I look at the typical areas and I say, oh, look, maybe I should invest over here because maybe around the airport there's some upcoming opportunities. Yes, there are some upcoming opportunities, but you have to decide for yourself how long you want to hold the property. That area might not be beneficial for you if you want to sell it in the short-term area, right? Like if you want to sell it short-term, you might be better off in different locations. Might, depending on the project. So that's number 4, the international gates for exhibition and events. So that was the expo area, the Al Maktoum airport. And now number 5 is obviously Knowledge and Innovation Center by the Dubai Silicon Oasis. So that area is area number 5, which is going to be the innovation hub. All of the centers, university are already there in place. You do have also a few schools, Heartland Collegiate College, and all of that in the over here in the Maidan area over here. Interesting to have a look at. So those are the 5 areas. Why is it important? And let's have a look at the next slide, and I will tell you right away that it is important to consider when it comes to the entire rollout plan for your investment to understand where you're heading. Even if it's short or long-term game that you're playing, even if you want to resell it in the short time or long-term, your strategy and your budget is always depending on the location, right? The location will decide ideal strategies and the other way around. So it's linked together. It's always the price, right? The budget that you have, it's always the location, and it's always the quality that you get. Like it's a quadrant. Oh, wow. Again, another firework in this absolutely fantastic app. Hope you enjoyed it. Now, let's have a look at this part. Now, why is it important that we talk about it? Have a look at heavy industry and light industry. Those are the 2 colors, like purple and light purple. That entire area over here, I hope you can see this very well, that entire area, right, is logistics. In order to grow the population and in order to make it happen, you will need to have logistics in place that are sufficient for that to happen, right? You need logistics as a base. Now, the logistical base is going to be all around the airport that, again, will have 230 million passengers. If you see that map, you could already tell there are only limited amounts of plots and areas that are going to be residential. Of course, they're going to increase, but it's a long-term game that we have to play. And you do have the water property It starts from here over here. This is why we had a look at Dubai as one of the Emirates, not only the city. Dubai is a city and an emirate itself. So from here to there, there's not much left. So the bubble index, there is a reason why it's 0.14, right? There's not much space left. We do have higher demand than supply at this current stage. And in the future, wow, those fireworks. And in the future, this is going to be something to have a look at. So this is a long-term game that you might want to play from a strategy perspective, just as a little hint. Then you also can tell World Island is going to be further established. You do have certain offers here in the Dubai market where you put your money in, you have guaranteed return on investment. Guaranteed return on investment, if you are an investor that really wants to have numbers that he can work with that are guaranteed, there are certain projects where you can buy in and you will get, for example, 10% return on investment for the next 10 years or 7% return on investment in a different location, plus a stay per year of 2 weeks in that hotel. There are different offers, so reach out to us, talk to us, and then we will find your ideal investment. So this is how you should look at it from a very neutral and very data-driven perspective when it comes to your property investment. And now I hope you understand that it's actually a very complicated, or it can be more complicated than most of the people say, oh, this is great. Here's the high-end brochure. Here's the high-end project. Everyone is saying, yeah, great, great. This is the best investment. And we stand on the side and say, no, there's no way we're going to sell this to you. It happened many times, and it's going to happen in the future as well. We have our principles in place, and we will stand by them. Now, why should I invest in real estate in Dubai? This is an excerpt from Goldman Sachs. Now, those 5 fields, we're going to quickly talk about them. Though there are 5 points. The first one is diversification. So you need to diversify your portfolio, not only when it comes to having stocks, bonds, crypto, whatever you're in, right? Whatever your investment portfolio looks like, you need to diversify it, right? That's the first thing. The second thing that you might want to consider is you want to diversify your real estate portfolio internally as well. You might want to hold some properties to rent them out, to get mortgages, to leverage your entire portfolio. You might want to do the fix and flip all the time, but it's a one-time thing, right? So you buy a property, you fix it, you flip it. That's another strategy. The third one could be you buy something off plan, and you do have capital appreciation throughout the construction after 1.5, 2 years, sometimes even after 6 months, depending on the location and the price point. You're going to resell it. So you might want to diversify your portfolio as well. Not only the portfolio that you have, but also your real estate portfolio, to see what strategy actually aligns with your lifestyle and where you want to head out in the next part. The next part is going to be the inflation hedge. Now have a look at the inflation hedge. The dirham is related to the US dollar. 3.67 dirham is always $1 US. It's linked to each other. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. It's linked. The US dollar is always linked to the dirham. The dirham is always linked. 3.67 dirham is always $1 US. Now, if you are a European investor, you might have a look at the progress or decrease of the current situation of the euro. So back then, if you look at the last 15 to 20 years, you had $1 US, so you needed 1.31 US dollar to get 1 euro. As you know, we have reached break even very recently, so now $1 US is 1 euro. So you lost already 30 cents on the dollar just by being in the wrong currency. Let's look at it from an investment perspective. You try to always have the best investment for yourself when it comes to real estate, but also consider the fact that you want to invest into the right currency that is performing better in the long term, right? Let's just say you bought 15 years ago a property here in Dubai. You didn't rent it out. You didn't do anything with it, right? It was just sitting there. It didn't even appreciate. By just having it invested in Dubai and being locked into the currency of the US dollar, if you would transfer the money back, you would have won 30 cents on the dollar already. You need to consider that. You know, it's a different business, I know, but it's related to your investment. So let's take a step back again and look at it from different angles, right? You have the financial aspect that you have to have a look at to consider when it comes to real estate investment. Okay, maybe this is not the perfect investment that I was looking forward to, but speaking or having a look at the currency and having a look at the zero taxes when it comes to reselling the property, maybe this is even still better than what I have at home. Right? This is something to consider. Now, the third part is obviously income, which is you do have a return on investment between 8 and 12%. That's very standard here. You do have also in prime locations summer months where we hit the 18, 14, 20% easily, without a doubt, because supply demand again rules the world. Now, the fourth part is capital appreciation. We all know that the capital appreciation here in Dubai is absolutely fantastic, and that's given due to the payment plans. Let's just say you do have $500,000 or you have $1 million to invest in Dubai, or you have 100,000, whatever amount, let's just say X, you have X amount that you wanted to invest. Now, you can invest in an off-plan property that you will pay by installments due to the payment plan, meaning that, let's just say you have 2 years of construction for that project. Within the 2 years, you're going to pay 50% of that property. Not on the first day, but you will pay it step by step, every 6 months, every 9 months, a certain percentage, right? Until it's completed. So you pay 50% off. What you then do is you take a mortgage on the ready property, you rent it out, and you have cash flow. Once you have that established, you have credibility with the banks here. After 6 months, you can take a mortgage out here for the second property, and this is how you can grow. You want to make sure that your investment allows you to grow as well by creating a portfolio and opportunities in that regard. So capital appreciation in that early stage is very, very crucial. Now, the last part is attractive risk adjustment returns. There are 5 ways to calculate that. The 3 main ones are alpha, beta, and standard deviation. At the end of the day, it's basically coming back to the very basic foundation of understanding the risk diversity. Right? So at the end of the day, you're going to decide how comfortable you are when it comes to your property investment. Some people, they invest in the Dubai properties, which is very reasonable, without being even in Dubai. Because they see the numbers. They don't really care if the countertop in the kitchen is quartz or marmor. Right? They don't really mind. Because they see the numbers. They see the property as an Excel spreadsheet. Those are large investors. They work with us. They see the numbers and they see, okay, this is what I get for my investment. That's how it's going to work out. I don't need to see the property. You know, there's my partner is going to do a good job because this is a long-term relationship that we want to build. And that's what you want to consider. At the end of the day there's one thing that you want to consider. If you buy a ready property, you will always pay a premium to the person that bought it off plan. And the person that bought it off plan is not going to resell it to you without making a huge profit, a premium. We're talking about 20%, 50% that you pay on top just to see the property. Now, if you have a look at current properties that are already ready in the market, and you have a look at the current properties that are going to be built, and you have a look at the reputation and the corporate strategy, and you align all of these numbers, there is a certain outline and prediction that you can take, you can have a look at. Now, if you take the economical perspectives with it, as that's what we do, then you do have a better layout. Right? In order to understand that, you need to have the variety to look at the different specs. Like property investment is just not buying concrete. You need to have a look at the financial part of it. You need to have a look at the economical part of it. You need to have a look at the governmental, at the politics, just to understand where this journey is going. At the end of the day, this is very crucial to understand. It's not a one-dimensional world, by all means. It is something that you need to consider from each and every angle to make the right decision. Now, at the end of the day, the human factor is one of the most deciding factors when it comes to the property investment. We can advise as much as we want to. At the end of the day, you have to make the decision based on facts that we're going to provide. Now, obviously, you want to have a certain security, and I can assure you, when it comes to the risk-adjusted returns or risk management, we do have escrow accounts. Now, escrow accounts are governmental accounts. So you pay the governmental accounts. In the governmental accounts, your money is secured throughout the construction. Let's just say you make a decision to buy an off-plan property. There's going to be an escrow account. It's a bank account from the government where you pay your money, your installments in, and the developer can then access once they have made the progress of the development and have proven that. Those reports, you can download them in the Dubai REST app, REST, and then you can see the reports. You can have a look at them and see the progress. Now, please keep in mind, those reports are not done on a daily basis. Sometimes we have inquiries from clients that say like, oh, nothing has happened. It's like, no, there is progress. I was just there. I was just taking pictures. That's why I sent you the picture. But it's not in the Dubai Rest app. Yeah, because they don't do them daily. They don't do them daily. Right, that's very important to understand. It's usually after a few months, maybe 6 months, every 6 months you will get an update, right? That's what you can, and this is why it's also important to have a partner there that is also driving by, taking a few pictures and say, oh, look, they have already reached podium level, or they have already established a park in the villa community, right? You want to have the updates. So work with someone that is already here. Just to sum it up, at the end of the day, you make your decision based on emotions most of the times. The better you can take a step back and distance from the emotion when it comes to the purchase process from an investor perspective, by all means, if it's your property, you buy what you like, then you tend to make the better decisions. And we will help you to navigate through this ambiguity. Right? We'll make sure that you, throughout the process, feel comfortable by giving you the data, giving you the support, and then make you understand, okay, it's a very solid investment, and these are the reasons why, and maybe I should not look at it from an emotional perspective, and maybe I should invest in off-plan properties because I don't want to pay premium to the previous 4 owners or 3 owners until the completion. Because it's very usual, it's very common in the market in Dubai, that people resell the property many times until it's completed. Throughout the 2, 3, 5 years of construction, property has been sold after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and so on and so forth. So, Goldman Sachs, that was the part. Oh, okay, right. You can reach out to me again. Give me your feedback regarding this presentation. We're going to go into the next slide. This is Valentine Dubai Real Estate. You will find me on Instagram. I do speak Russian, English, and German. Well, I was born in Kazakhstan, grew up in Germany, and moved to Australia to write my thesis in that field. I worked on construction since 2005 myself, so I have the background from construction, working for a developer, working in construction myself, teaching management consultants in that field, teaching real estate brokers, and then running my own two things here in Dubai. Reach out to me on WhatsApp as well as on my homepage. More than happy to help. And I'm really looking forward for your feedback at this stage. This series is living through the input that you give us, that you give me. And I already want to thank you in advance for your messages. So feel free to reach out to us. Now, this is going to be a very interesting part about the presentation, because I just wanted to illustrate to you that rental prices, right? We do have residential rents and you do have residential sales prices. The rental prices and the sales prices are usually correlated. If the rental prices go up, the sales prices go up. The rental prices go down, sales prices go down, they are always in accordance. Those are very good indicators to predict also the future upcoming of an area as well. If you see that the rental prices go down already, maybe your investment is going to be completed in a year. It's not the best investment that you could make. Right? It's a very good indicator because they're correlated. Just wanted to show you that as a source. I'm not going to go much further into it. Just this part over here, which we're going to talk about a little bit more, was the COVID era. Right. During COVID, which you can see over here, right? That was the area. Right? Residential sales price index. We do have an absolute fantastic performance after the COVID area over here. Obviously, we benefit from economical crisis. Right? Everyone is coming to Dubai. They see the world is not as stable as it's supposed to be. So why not have a safe haven in a tax-free country over where you and your family are safe and secure? Right? This is something to consider as well. So the performance and the implementation of certain incentives by the government is therefore proven. Like, we have incentives, and the country and the government is still on working on that. Like, I have never seen in my entire life, and I'm from Germany, governmental incentives getting into the market and getting applied as quickly as here in the UAE. I've never seen something like this before. It's unbelievable. Usually in Germany it takes forever. Same from what I can tell, is in Australia. Here you have a government that is ruled by Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and does an outstanding job when it comes to managing this unique your unique investment opportunity, but also the country and also the overall city structure, right? This is something to consider when it comes to your investment. Now, at this stage, I want to get back to the point where we talk about the geopolitical situation of Dubai. Dubai, and I cannot stress this enough, has not even been on the radar for the last 30 years. Now we are part of one of the largest economic collaborations, which is BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia. Now you have the G7, former G8 with Russia, now G7, BRICS. We are part of BRICS. Now, part of BRICS is also, when we talk about the first letter B, Brazil, South America is just starting to open up. We haven't even entered that market yet in a large scale, marketing-wise. This is still like we are in, as we call it in Germany, in our Kinderschuhes, right? We are still like a kinder, like in our child's shoes. We are still at the very early stage, to put it that way, right? We are still at a very early stage when it comes to establishing the markets in the world, right? When it comes to market attraction, South America is not on our radar whatsoever until now. It's opening up. It's an entire continent opening up to invest here in Dubai. So when people say, "Oh well, there is a bubble," well, I hope you understand that just from an economical, very, very conservative perspective, data-driven perspective, it doesn't make any sense to call Dubai a bubble. We have the statistics, we have the economic outline, we have the Masterplan 2040, we have the expansion that we're going to have within Dubai. We have areas, we have technologies, we have incentives by the government that we have not seen anywhere else in the world that we need to consider as one of the key drivers of this economy. So that's obviously one of the parts we need to consider. Being part of BRICS is something to have a look at. Now, let's have a look at the current or the most recent Deloitte report over here. Transaction levels in 2023, obviously the ones from 2023 coming out, and it's a YOY, so year to year, have increased 18 to 26%. So rental and sales have been increased. Rental between 18 and 26% rental and sales. Now, have a look at the sentence that I tried to label over here. This trend is expected to continue during 2024, albeit the pace of growth may stabilize further as new supply is launched. It says clearly it may stabilize further. It doesn't mean decrease. You really have to pay attention at this point in those reports that it's not gonna decrease. It's stabilizing. Stabilizing means we have more supply, but the demand itself is still higher. It may stabilize. It's not decreasing. So just to break it down from that perspective one more time with the most recent Deloitte report. Now let's have a look at the next one over here. This one is one of my favorites. I'm not gonna lie. This is something I cannot stress this enough. I'm going to push myself over here to the left-hand side. There is a community in Dubai Hills. We talked about Dubai Hills, which is the geographical center of Dubai, right? Between downtown and Marina and the Palm. That's the geographical center. If you want to fold the map of Dubai in the middle, you will have Dubai Hills in the middle right now, as of the current stage. Have different cedar villas. Now, we were focusing on that area particularly because the demand of those villas was insanely high. We do have here, as you could tell, DE Cedar Villa number 3. Now, type 3 villas, Cedar number 3, Villa number 29, Villa number 29, Villa number 29. It has been the same villa. Now, that villa, as you could tell over here, was bought for 4.12 million. During COVID crisis, was sold for 3 million. All right. Then in 2023, last year, it was sold for 6.8 million. So from 3.6.8 million. This is, as you could tell on the right-hand side, an increase of 167.67%. At that stage, we were with clients in that area. We told them, look, this is the demand. As I said at the beginning, waterfront property as well as villa and townhouses are increasing. This is the demand in the market. We do check the statistics. We have a look at the statistics. This is what we feel. This is what we see every day. Look at the people that we meet on a daily basis. Who are they? More and more families coming in. We don't have enough supply yet. So the demand is increasing. We told them in 2023, summer 2023, that was last year, please look at the statistics. We see the demand. Please invest in the area. Again, coming back to the emotional factor. The emotional factor said, no, this villa already went up 126%. There is no way it's going to increase further. We told them, look, this is what it is. We understand that there is, a prediction, but please look at the numbers. Please detach emotionally from this investment. At that stage, we just could consult. We didn't do it. Well, he didn't invest, that investor, and now someone else bought it, and it was sold for 39.71% more. There you go. 1 year later. So you made around from 6.8 million to 9.5 million. You made around $600,000-$700,000 within a year just by putting the money into one property, leaving it there and taking it out again. This is how dynamic the market is, and those are the opportunities. Even on the secondary market, you have to understand the metrics. You have to understand the people that are moving into the Dubai market. You have to understand the economical perspective, the geological perspective, the financial world in order to make the right investments here in Dubai. You have to understand this is not just selling concrete. I cannot stress this enough at this stage. It is something to have a look at different angles and perspectives, and this is what we were trying here to do. You're losing $600,000 to $700,000 just by not looking at it from an investor's perspective and being very neutral. And this is why I was taking this this example. Even if the prices are high, considerably high, let's look at it, detach the emotion from it, and look at it from an investor's perspective. Now, this was the overall presentation for you. Again, Valentine Dubai Real Estate. You can find me on www.valentine.realestate. This is my WhatsApp number for those people who have signed up for this webinar. I'm more than happy to help you throughout the journey. Again, this is a one-stop shop solution. Whether it's buying property, investing in property, fix and flip, renting it out, short and long-term rental, or having a second opinion on the purchase of the property. If you don't know, and if you don't feel like you're making a good decision with the upcoming purchase of the property, reach out to us, reach out to me. We're more than happy to help, to give you transparency in that process. I'm going to increase it over here. Reach out to us, and again, this entire series is only living through the input that we have got from the investors and from people out there. So if you like this video, please give this a thumb up. Write down in the comments what was interesting to you. What would you like to know more? I know we didn't talk much about the financing, but it's already 1 hour and 12 minutes into the webinar, into this presentation. So whatever is on your heart, whatever you would like to know more about the Dubai real estate market, we are more than happy, and I'm more than happy to help, to give you some clearance, absolute transparent, no fees charged. The only thing that I ask you to do as a favor is give us the topics that you're interested in. Reach out to us either on WhatsApp or Instagram. As I said before, you will also find the PDF down here to download a guideline for you. And that is until the next time. Valentine from Dubai, valentine.realestate. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. Follow along on Instagram, YouTube, and WhatsApp. And I will see you soon in the next one.